This thing has some real humdinger problems. Let's find out what's wrong with this Hummer. Let's get started. This is a 2006 Hummer H3. It's not an H2 or an H1, this is the H3, and it has the inline engine, not a V8 or anything else. It's called the Atlas engine. It came in with some AC issues, and also it had some stalling and a check engine light on. The customer had tried to get it fixed in another shop and they were unsuccessful, and she said, you know what, I'm just going to take it to Omega. They'll get the answers. And we did. We have the answers, and actually it's already fixed. We'll find out what it is and what caused her issues. It was kind of tricky at first, but before we dive in, let's take a look around this H3. Here's the front of this H3. It does have some resemblance to an H1. A lot of the way the grille is and all those things is kind of harkening back to that. Big fender flares, and the color of the paint actually matches my shirt, Mrs. Wizard.
It does. It's kind of that same Omega blue that we have.
It does have on these wheels these little dashes here. It looks like it sticks out. In the military, a lot of the vehicles have what's called CTIS, Central Tire Inflation System. And while you're rolling along, you can air down the tires or air up the tires without even having to get an air chuck. And it would have through a little pipe through here will go into the wheel and do its job. It looks like it has CTIS. Obviously, it actually doesn't. Let's continue on with our inspection. As we go down the side, it does have some few scrapes here or there, but nothing too serious. It looks like it's got fairly new tires on it. It has a nice full-size spare on the back. Otherwise, it's in pretty good shape. Let's go ahead and hop under the hood. All right, Mrs. Wizard, let's see if it can stay up.
Okay.
Nope. These hood struts are shot. Luckily, we have this little tool that's actually listed in our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. You don't have to worry about hurting the struts. They're already dead. Can you hold that for me, Mrs. Wizard?
Sure.
Just clamps on and locks it in place. Nice and safe. This is our Vortec 3500. It is an inline engine. It's not a V6 or a V8. They had a 4-cylinder, a 5-cylinder, and a 6-cylinder in this series of engines. This one was in pretty good shape, but did have a check engine light on. We're going to jump into that here in a minute, but it is currently fixed. It also had air conditioning that would work when you're cruising, but at a stoplight or at idle, it would be very warm. Let's let Mrs. Wizard show you guys around the utilitarian interior of an H3. Then we're going to dive in.
So here we are. It has 155,759 miles on here. And, okay, looking good. Nice gauge cluster, easy to read. Dash. It has a very small, very shallow dash, but it's not broken. Everything is in good shape. Move down, we have our airbag, we have our glove box, but we see it goes charcoal to camel. As we get to our center section, we have very simple utilitarian design here. No infotainment screen, nothing really going on other than what you basically need. Heat, cool, and I guess a few charge ports. That's it down there. As we move back, we have our gear selector, which is starting to show some of the age. The leather coating has come off. It's now just cloth. Have some cup holders. And as we get to the center section, we got a whole bunch of stuff in there, which will live in a mystery in your life, so we're not going to look in there. So we get to the armrest. It is looking good. I don't see any elbow prints on it, but you can see that we have the camel in the center with charcoal on the outside in our leather seating, which also goes on to the actual seat itself. It does look nice. It does have a little bolster on the side. And the headrest, quite a large, wide headrest, so I guess it's good for napping. Door card also. We can see that charcoal and camel wrap around looking really good. As we get to the back seat, yep. This mama's carrying her babies in this thing. Yeah, it's a big beast, and it takes the family around quite well. But the back seat is looking really good. Headliner's looking good, no Cheeto fingers. And we have a lovely glass there, which you can see the ceiling of our shop. And here we are back at the steering wheel. We've got the H3 printed there in the center, and that is it. We got horns, nothing else. No buttons, no controls for radio, nothing like that. The owner does have a nice little bracelet here on the edge of the steering wheel, but that is all there is. There's no other decorations, nothing else going on. So enough of this interior talk. Let's get this up in the air and see what's going on underneath.
So it looks like it was pulled by an RV or something. You can see the connections here. And then we have our little breakaway switch here to let you know if something went wrong. And also our little plug-in for the lights. And it does have our under shield. It says H3 on there. Keep any debris or anything while you're off-roading away from the radiator and whatnot. I don't see any major leaks or anything going on around in here. Let's check these wheels. CV boots are good. Struts are not blown. Sway bar link is good. Looks like it's had new tires put on, some Cooper Discoverers. Nothing loose there. The brakes, they got about 40% remaining. CV boots are good. Sway bar link is good. The strut or shock is not blown. And brakes are about 40%. Now this does have shocks. I kept calling them struts. They're not. They're actually shocks because it doesn't have coil springs or leaf springs in the front. It has neither of those. It has torsion springs. Take a look. Just like the old GMT 400 Silverados and things, they have a torsion bar right here. That's your spring. It twists. Kind of interesting. We do see a little bit of a leak from the transmission pan. We'll let the customer know. It's kind of a little bit of a seepage going on, but nothing too serious. I don't see anything leaking from the engine, really. As we move back, we can see our transfer case is not leaking. Here's our torsion bars again. They go way back here. Big cross members, beefy ones. Here's our rear drive shaft. Nothing loose on the U-joints there. And on our front drive shaft, which is the passenger side drop, nothing loose there. That's just normal play on the splines there. Here's our fuel tank. It does have a little shield underneath to protect it from being scraped. Here's our exhaust. Everything's intact. Differential is not leaking, which is good, but we do have leaf springs in the back. We'll check out the backs now. No leaking axle seals. Brakes are about 30% remaining. Shocks are not blown. Sway bar links are good on both sides. Shocks are good here. Nothing leaking from the axles there, really. And 30% left on the brakes. And brand new tires. And this one has true single exhaust. It has one in, one out. They're not trying to hide anything or show off anything. They're just one coming out the back. Let's get this thing on the ground and find out what's wrong with the AC and why was the check engine light on. So the AC came on with a complaint of at a stop sign or just idling. It just really wasn't cooling very well. And from experience, I kind of was thinking it's probably low on refrigerant. It's very typical symptoms of that kind of an issue. We got it pulled into the shop. I connected the AC machine and evacuated the system. It's supposed to have, let's take a look exactly. It's usually on GM vehicles as stated. On the Colorado Canyon, 1.6 pounds. On the H3, 1.28. My machine pulled out 1.3 pounds, which is right where it should be. Maybe a little tiny bit high, but not enough to cause any issues at all. So refrigerant wasn't the issue. So I watched the gauges while it was running the AC, and it would start to cool, and I noticed something on the gauges. My high side wouldn't go much above 100, but it was suctioning down to 0 on the low side, clear to 0, and then it would cycle and turn the compressor off and start over again. Well, it's not low on refrigerant to cause it to suction that hard on the side down to 0. And then I remember something my teacher said years ago, not really my teacher, my mentor, my coworker, my boss, I guess you want to call him. His name was Kenneth. He told me anytime you have weird pressures that it just doesn't make sense. It's like, what? He said, suspect either the orifice tube or expansion valve, depending on which one the car uses. This car uses an expansion valve. So I evacuated, like I said, all the refrigerant out, and I pulled out the old expansion valve. Let's take a look at it. So this little block is called the expansion valve. It has refrigerant going in and coming back out. This is what actually causes the refrigerant to get cold. Nothing else in the whole AC system causes it to get cold. It's the restriction in here that purposely restricts the refrigerant to make it spray and get really cold. You can see right here it bolts to the back side of the evaporator core. And we have our high side and low side lines going in and out of it. You can see there's a brand new one already installed. When I had the new one open, the package open, I compared the little spring right here. You can see a little spring down in that hole, and it looks like it's partially collapsed. The new one was not like that. It was fully expanded, so something's wrong with this expansion valve. I installed the new one, followed my mentor's advice, and went with the expansion valve. We recharged it back to the 1.28 pounds, and it's ice cold all the time. He was right. It was exactly what was wrong with it. So luckily it was the expansion valve. There's a couple of things in an AC system that can go bad that are not expensive, like one of the service port valves could start leaking and you just replace it, recharge it. The expansion valve can go bad, and it's 50 or 100 bucks depending on what kind of car you're working on. There's a little time evacuating the refrigerant and putting this back on, putting a new one on and recharging it. But anything other than this, it can go south really fast in the AC system. If the compressor grenades and sends pieces of metal all through the system, that can be $1,500 to $3,000 depending on what kind of car you're driving, or more. Luckily, that's all it was, and she can be back in the game with ice cold AC even while it's idling, at a stop sign, or on the highway. It doesn't matter. It's cold all the time now. So my mentor was right on the money on that. It just wasn't making any sense. The pressures were just wild. They were crazy, and that's what it was. So that solves the AC. Now let's move on to that check engine light and occasional stalling issue she had. So there were two codes stored in the computer, P0017 and P0014, which say that there's cam crank correlation issues, which meaning it's expecting the cam to be at this point and the crank to be at this point. It's told certain things to happen. It's not happening. What could it be, guys? Let's play the game. Let us know in the comments what you think it is. I'll list 3 things of what it could be. Is it number 1, timing chains are bad? Is it number 2, a bad variable valve timing solenoid? Or is it number 3, internal engine damage? Let us know what you think it is in the comments below. Now we're going to dive into what we found out. So I was looking at the scan tool data and watching the cam and crank numbers and everything. It didn't really show any issues just sitting there. But when you go drive it, the computer would command the variable valve timing solenoid to do its thing, and it was expecting to see a change in the camshaft angle. That wasn't happening. So the computer is like, okay, something's really wrong here. I'm throwing on the check engine light. I told it to be here. It's not happening. There's a cam crank issue going on here. So no, it's not the timing chains, luckily. So lucky. She's so lucky that's not what it was. I've seen those codes in other vehicles before, and it is the timing chains are stretched or something's really wrong. And there's no internal engine damage because it runs great. It has no other issues other than it's not happy when it's telling it to actuate the cam phaser or cam gear. It ended up being the variable valve timing solenoid was shot. Let me show you what it looks like. So here's the old one. We removed it from the engine. There's 2 issues with this old one. It makes noise, it's rattling, and there's debris in the screen. Let me rattle it for you. You guys can hear that rattling. Inside, the spool valve is loose and flopping around. When I did get the brand new one, now I went with a Cloys brand. I don't put cheap stuff on timing components. I could shake it all day long. It did not rattle like this one. This one's bad. Also, if you look on the screen here, there's some very, very fine debris on this center screen. Lots of little pieces of debris. So we definitely recommended an oil change and a new VVT solenoid. Let's take a look where it's located on the engine. You can see this connector connects to it, and it's that little silver cylinder shaped object. It just slides in and bolts in right on the side of the cylinder head. There's only one. So we got that installed, oil change done, and we went and road tested it, cleared the codes obviously. The codes do not return, and as I monitor the scan tool data while it's driving, the computer's telling it to change the angle, and it happens beautifully. Everything lines up like it's supposed to. The computer is now happy. Totally solved. 2 issues solved. The other shop said, I don't know what it is. You're going to have to take it somewhere else. And that other place is here at Omega. So I'm very happy that we could get these 2 issues solved for the customer. Just an expansion valve and a VVT solenoid, and back in business. No more check engine light and ice cold AC, and it didn't cost thousands and thousands of dollars. It'll be $1,000 or less. Probably way less, but we'll see when we get the ticket written up. So is the H3 or the H2 true military vehicles? No, not even close. Not even close, bro. The H2 is based on basically a truck frame like the GMT 800 style. A lot of things are shared there. The engine, the 6-liter. The H3, just like denoted on the sticker, it shares a lot with the Colorado and the Canyon. Same engine package and everything like that. They have nothing to do with the military. They look like an H1 on the outside. They're kind of sharing that styling, the grille and the headlights and things. I worked on tons of H1s while I was in the Army. I was a mechanic then. You guys know that already. But they are built so wildly different. than anything that an H2 or H3 has to offer. With their differentials, they have portal axles, they have a diesel engine, they have so many different things that are different. And you can click the link below. We've actually worked on a few of them here in the shop. But definitely wanted to get a video out to you guys to show you that sometimes when you're a shop you're dealing with, it just doesn't seem like you're getting anywhere. You're kind of just spinning in circles. Just say, hey, thanks for your time. I'm going to take it somewhere else. Find a reputable shop in your area and give them a shot. There's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion or even a third opinion to figure out what's going on with your vehicle. You really don't want someone to do the parts canon and say, well, we don't know what's wrong, but we can try this, we can try that. We don't try anything here. We just do it. Because we get the answer and the data first. Then we move forward. After we get the approval from the customer, what needs to be repaired. The parts canon can be very expensive, and at the end of the day, after you've fired it 2 or 3 times, you've solved nothing but spent lots of money. It's really not a good way to fix cars, especially as computerized and as technical and complex as they are today. So if you're curious what kind of tools that we use in the shop every day, just like this little strut tool, the hood strut tool that I showed you, or various other tools we use every day in the shop on all the vehicles you see on the camera, are tried and true, we used every day, or in our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. If you purchase anything there, we get a small cut and really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button before you go, because we have many more videos to come. Thanks for watching.